Hey, welcome everybody. This is the UAA Rusty Osborne show. We're going to talk about UAA basketball. And one thing with the GNAC, it's really competitive, and you never know what's going to happen. You sweep on the road, but when you come back home, there's no rest. Northwest Nazarene last Thursday, and boy, that was a tough group, close game for a long time, but they just. How did you evaluate that game?
Yeah, I thought that two tough teams starting with Nazarene on Thursday night. They were undefeated in league, and they've had some good wins. I mean, anytime you go to California and you sweep a road trip down to California, you have to have a lot of respect for a group like that. And so we had a ton of respect. I thought that we came out. They got us on our heels early, and then I thought we made some adjustments. And then early in the second half, we made that run and got up. And then unfortunately had a few things go against us, and they were able to climb back in the lead. And then just things got away from us down there just at the end. We missed a few shots, and they made a few. And in a close game, I mean, you can't afford that. And so. We lost to a very good team, and you just evaluate the film and try to move on to the next one.
I think about watching teams, and this is true whether it's high school or college or even upper levels. I mean, everybody starts the season with a great attitude. They got, everybody's a family. Yeah. Everybody's clapping hands. The subs are clapping for the starters. But depending on how you're doing, that can fade away. You can see that the teams in the GNAC, they still seem to be in the optimistic phase. And
yeah, I think that one of the old sayings is, and I agree with it, is everybody talks about what's the toughest conference in the country, and the toughest conference in the country is the one that you're playing in, because right. Especially in a league like ours where you have coaches who've coached in the league quite a while. I mean, I've been in it a long time. Tony Dominguez at Western Washington's been a head coach in the league now. Brandon Rent has been there for 7 years. John Hawkins is a new head coach, but he's been in the league for a long time. Frank's now back, having been in the league. You know what each other's going to do, and there's no secret. So, you're getting away with some things against some other teams that you're not getting away with. On both sides, and so it's kind of making subtle adjustments, and then who can do their system the best. And unfortunately for us, we came up a little short. We are struggling offensively still. I think we're pretty good defensively. We were good defensively against them. We weren't great. And then Saturday night, I thought we were really good. I mean, Central's averaging close to 80 points a game. We held them to 64. I mean, our average is 61. If your defensive average is 64 in the country, you're probably in the top 20 in the country in points allowed. And so, but we just were not very good offensively, and we've got to find a way to get better offensively. And if we do, then we can pull out some of these close ones that we're having at the end.
I know I've been in a few offices, yours and I think maybe SBU's, and you guys all have tapes from each other over the years. People know people's plays. You talk about the experience factor. All of a sudden, you call something, their whole bench is calling something.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you have to disguise it or do different numbers, and that speaks to what you were talking about.
Yeah, and you remember, we split up scouting duties, and so I'll take a third of our games, and Orton will take a third of our games. Ingebretson will, take another third. And as you're going over things, it's not uncommon. If it's not your scout, but you're talking about the other team, okay, Western Washington, are they still running Viking? Yeah, they're still running Viking, and I'm sure it's the same way. As Anchorage, are they still running Sonic or Dump or whatever? I'm sure it's the same way. And you don't have that when you're playing other teams. I mean, we played St. Edwards this year, and we had no idea they were going to press for 40 minutes, full court, because they had a new assistant coach who brought that system in, and now you're playing in league. There's 10 to 12 games, non-conference games out there, a film. You get a chance to see what the newcomers are doing. What are they doing the same as they've done in the past? What are they doing different? And then again, it becomes more subtle adjustments as opposed to big adjustments. And then who can execute their system both defensively and offensively better than the other time, and we came up short this weekend. Whereas the weekend before we didn't,
Made all the plays.
We made all the plays. We defended when we needed to, and so the challenge would be to move forward against another good team this week.
I remember at Southwest Texas, I did a lot of the scouting, and sometimes you don't get something on every player. And Coach Larrabee would jump in there. He goes, "This guy, he sets a wicked screen."
Yeah.
So he would, make sure we respected every
Yep. Yeah.
every player that way.
If you don't respect your opponent and what they're going to do, then you're behind the 8 ball right away.
So Saturday night, here comes Central Washington, still a team that's really fired up about their season, and just again, I think you draw out their best a lot of times. They haven't done well against UAA at UAA. They're fired up. You mentioned last week about the crowds. They're playing in front of bigger crowds than they're used to playing in a better arena, and you draw everybody's best effort.
Well, I mean, Central is a very good team. They're starting to come on. They lost a lot from last year, and so like us, like a lot of teams, when you lose, 4 or 5 main guys like they did, even though you got like guys coming back, you're still trying to figure yourself out early, and you can lose some games maybe you wouldn't lose later on. And so I think their record is a little bit misleading. They were 2-1 or 3-1 coming into the game, 3-1 because they had just beaten Fairbanks, and so I mean they're right there at the top of the league. I think they were picked to win the league, and so I mean they're very talented, and we actually guarded them really well. We jumped out, and we were executing offensively.
Up 9 at one time.
Yeah, I think and then we just we stopped. They picked up the pressure. Some of our guys coming in off the bench didn't execute very well, which happens sometimes. And all of a sudden, we're in a drought, and we're playing from behind the whole second half. But I thought right till the very end there, last 2 or 3 minutes, that we had a shot. It was just making one more run, and unfortunately they made it tough on us, and then. We made it tough on ourselves. We missed a ton of easy shots. I mean, I think we were, defensively, you look at their percentages, you say, well, they shot 50%, but we created 18 turnovers and we only had 8 ourselves. I mean, so we created 10 more shot opportunities. The problem was we were missing a lot of the easy shots, and we've got to correct that. I mean, we got 59 shots to their 49, and they made 6 more field goals than we did. So they were making the most of their opportunities, and we weren't. And so we've got to get better in that area while continuing to defend at a high level.
In the changing face of college basketball, as I've watched Central over the years, they've been kind of based on a junior college. Like Tacoma Junior Colleges were a feeder school and things like that. But with the changing face with portal and the need for junior college, UAA's had some great junior college players. So what's your approach with the way college basketball is changing?
Well, I think that, one thing that differentiates us is just the pool of players that we can choose from out of the high school level. There's a lot of good high school players in Alaska, and we've had a lot of success. There's been times when we started 3 or 4 Alaska kids at one time. I can remember when Colton played for us, and we had Colton, and we had Kyle Fossman, we had Travis Thompson, and we had Philip Hearn from West starting for us at times. And there's been other years also just like that. Carl Arts and Chris Bryant, and that Doug Hardy, that group. So we can definitely get a big core of our group from Alaska. But there's usually not all 5 positions that we're able to get as often as other. When you're in the state of Washington, state of Oregon, there's a lot of kids who get overlooked. And I think what Coach Rent has done at Central has been a good philosophy for him. He's taken some transfers in junior college in 4 years, and then he's really got a core group of good high school kids that he's brought in. And it's something we would like to do. But it's just 2 different situations, and so we've got to recruit from the pool that's available for us, and sometimes that's more high school kids, sometimes that's more transfers, and a lot of times it's what are you losing, what do you need to replace, because we don't like to take too big a step back. So
Right.
we lose 4 or 5 seniors, we're not going to replace them with 4 or 5 high school kids and win 7 games the next year.
Everybody's a two out there.
Yeah, we're going to try and replace them with players who can come in and play right away. And so sometimes the choices are made for you. If you want to remain competitive, you're in and you're out.
Yeah. Well, I think about, you go to Inglewood and you walk around the block. There's like 15 college players. I mean, that's a different world out there.
Yeah. And I think that our school, our administration is very high on us bringing in kids who are going to go to class, who are going to be great in the community, going to graduate, and that's kind of the Division II philosophy of we're here and we want to win games, and we're going to do everything we can to win, but we also have to have a balance. Life in the balance is a big deal for Division II, and so I mean we're bringing in kids who are putting in a ton of community service. They're graduating. We had 12 of our 16 guys who were over 3.0 last semester. That's been pretty consistent over the last 3 or 4 years. And so, we're really recruiting the whole package and maybe not taking as many chances as other people. And maybe we should. That's a philosophy that is very defensible, but it's not what we've been doing. And we're proud of the kids we brought in, and we're going to try and win as many games as we can with them, including championships.
I was watching a coach from your school, Texas, and that's Steve Sarkanian, and they were asking him questions. And he said at Texas, they recruit the kids. They're selling Texas. If the guy comes in asking about money first and NIL, that kind of says something about the guy. And they got people that might, consider transferring, but I think with that philosophy, and when you're selling your school and you're selling the balance, that seems to be a better philosophy.
I mean, we're trying to sell, what we're all about. I mean, we make there's no secrets. We're a 3-pronged program. I mean, you've got to be active in the community. You've got to want to do that. You've got to be willing to buckle down and work towards your degree. And then, we want to play high level basketball. We make that out front. We think Alaska is a special place. We've got great fans. We talked about this the last time. Last year in the West region, we averaged almost 1,600 fans a game. The second best team in the region averaged 900. So there's a lot to sell here. I mean, we're going to do a very special event this week, the Bounce Back to Charity event.
Yeah. That looks good. There was an ad in the paper today.
And that's not only. We're also, Steve Garrity has his hoops game for with citizens with additional and special needs, and so a lot of exciting things going on that are more than just basketball. We're helping out the community, raising some soft goods for charity, and then we're also doing some good stuff for our citizens in the community of additional and special needs and giving back. And then we're going to play a highly competitive basketball game, in addition to that, as are the women against Western Washington right after us.
Well, what a deal. If you didn't see that in the paper today, you can have free admission by bringing in some of those things. So I challenge people to take a look at that, and what better opportunity to come see you.
Yeah, I mean, you bring a pair of socks, or you bring a beanie hat, or
a roll of paper towels.
Or an old coat, that you're no longer using,
right.
That's in great shape. There's lots of different options, and come in and again, two games of very competitive basketball.
So here come the Nanooks. I'm kind of curious about who had to scout for them, and it's kind of after these 2-game weeks and all that, you got kind of all week to both of you to really focus in on each other.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Orton is the main guy with the scout on that one. That's his. Coach E and I had teams last week, and so he's been working on the scout there. But we're all looking at it, I mean, especially this week when we only have one team, we can all kind of dive into it, and we'll compare notes and have staff meetings and talk about it. They're playing very well. They got a big win. They, at the end of the game against Nazarene, made the plays. They're down 5 points with 4.5 minutes left, and then they made the plays and pulled out the win. Just the opposite of what we did. So we know whenever we play Fairbanks that it's going to be a competitive game. I think they know the same thing. There's been a lot of times when one of the teams has been quite a bit better than the other, and it's still a competitive game. And I don't think that there's a huge difference between either one of us from a week-to-week standpoint right now. They're probably a better offensive team than we are right now, and right now on paper we might be a little better defensive team, but I think it's going to be a very competitive, entertaining game, and hopefully we can make the plays down the stretch and come out with a win.
I think one thing that's interesting about these games is you guys know each other's players, and you mentioned the Alaskan kids that are on UAA, and there's a lot of Alaskan kids that you've watched over the years and at state tournaments. So it's going to be a lot of, and those kids know each other, so that brings further interest to the game.
Yeah, and I mean, Frank coached against a lot of the kids, that are on our team, and we watched the kids on his team play, and had them in team camps and
Right.
all those types of things. So there's definitely we know what we're going against with those kids, and they have a lot of pride, and they want to come out on top. But our local kids and Alaskan kids have a lot of pride also, so I think it's going to be a highly spirited game. And again, it's going to come down to who executes their system and makes shots.
So maybe as we wrap this up, I'm kind of curious, the road versus playing at home. And I think naturally everybody thinks you have an advantage playing at home, but I think one thing that's maybe underlooked is when you're on the road, you're all together. You're in the hotel. You have a routine you can keep to. Nobody has abundance of other places that they got to go. So there's a certain advantage to being on the road if you know how to do it.
I think if you physically can withstand it, and mentally, not get caught up in that we're playing against home. I think you're exactly right, because it's pretty simple. It's get up, eat breakfast. If you're in the academic part of the year, I mean, you're doing a study hall, lunch, practice, scout, film, go to bed. I mean, it's pretty much Groundhog Day every day. You go out on Wednesday and you're back on Sunday, and so it is very simple. Everybody's there together in the hotel, unless an occasional parent comes visit. There's not a lot of outside noise in the kid's ear, and we're together a lot, and it's a team building opportunity also. And so once we get where we're going, we like being on the road. Sometimes it's tougher to get there, but last week when we were in Simon and Western, that's a good one, because we don't change hotels. We stay in the same hotel for 4 days. So that one's a good one. As you go, and you've got to travel between, the Washington and Boise or Billings trips, those are a little bit different. Those are a little more taxing. But hey, it's what we signed up for. Us and Fairbanks. Both of us have read too often that a team has come up here on that arduous, Alaska road trip, and
they do it
had
once.
success, and they do it once and don't realize, we're doing it 4 times in conference, plus another 2 or 3 times in non-conference. And sometimes you laugh when you hear a national sportscast and they talk about Duke had a grueling 500-mile flight, to go play up in New York City, and our closest is 350 miles between the two of us, and so it is what we do. I'm sure they're the same as us. We don't talk about it. Hey, this is what we signed up for. We've got to go to wherever, and we've got to play, and nobody's going to feel sorry for us. So there's no reason talking about how hard it is or easy it is or whatever. Just we got to go get the job done, because people don't care.
Before we wind this up, maybe a last word on your part about, the fans and the opportunity to come out. And, Fairbanks only comes once, and it's interesting, it's kind of different where there's going to be a I mean, UA will dominate the crowd, but there's going to be pretty.
Yeah, we saw last week when Sullivan Menard came in with Nazarene. He had a
That's
nice
right.
little group there, because he's from the Valley, and Fairbanks has a nice crew. I mean, hard for too many people from Ketchikan to get up unless they're in town to play. But you got Shish from the Valley, and you got Jackson Krug from Kodiak, and the other kids they have on their team. So they're going to have their fans here, and we'll have ours. And again, it's fun. That's what college athletics are about. UAA, UAF, Duke, North Carolina, whatever. UCLA, USC. Those are the games you sign up for. Those are the fun ones. You have to play some Portland Bibles or Multnomah like they did to fill out your schedule, but. The fun games are the ones like this. It's going to be a big crowd. It's going to be an enthusiastic crowd, that's those are fun 2 hours.
Well, a reminder that it's 3 o'clock start this Saturday. There's a lot of high school basketball going on, but if you want to get to Alaska Airlines Arena, see a great game between UAA and UAF. Girls to play afterwards, and just encourage everybody to show up and want to see that arena rocking.
Thanks, Brad.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach. And that'll do it. Join us again next week. This is the Alaska Sports Talk with Rusty Osborne and talking about UAA basketball. See you next week.
I remember looking.